Hello, nerds for Yang.
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds! So nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Now with this campaign, bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with the Yang Gang.
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds for America!
Nerds for America. That's fine. We are for America. Welcome back to the show, Pete.
Welcome, Tom. And, I want to touch base and follow up on our chat because the last time a lot of your viewers were anxiously waiting for my data, which you did pin up. And just for the audience's information, I did send Tom that similar information via WhatsApp during the video chat, but I guess I didn't let him know about it. So basically, I want to touch base a little bit about that data, and that basically like the number of unarmed black killings by police is less than 50 people per year. In fact, the total unarmed killings of all Americans by the police is less than 50 people per year, of which only 10 to 20 are black, and the rest are basically white or Hispanic. Is that correct, Tom?
That is what you sent me. Are we gonna have the BLM debate? Because I'm happy to continue that because I don't
want to have another BLM debate. Actually, this conversation is for me to find out more about your leftist liberal agenda, and not naming any names. I just want to basically find out. Again, I don't think that you are going to be able to convince me to vote for Biden. But basically, yeah, I do have some questions about your views, if I may.
Right.
If I may.
Yeah.
So let me just kind of ponder. Let me just state my views first. I want to talk first about, and I want to ask you about the whole open borders situation, and immigration or merit-based immigration, which you commented on just yesterday. I think you had a little recap of Biden versus Trump. And versus what Biden wants and what's Trump wants. But let's just focus on what Biden wants. My perception, again, of you Democrats is that you guys love immigrants, particularly the illegal immigrant type, and you don't make a distinction between legal immigration and illegal immigration. And that is a fact, because you guys actions speak louder than words. You guys have these sanctuary states and sanctuary cities for the last few years, where you basically release prisoners. They could have committed crimes like rape, and you just let them off without giving to ICE. And then now you guys are even giving millions of dollars of free money in California, and I believe also New York, not sure about New Jersey, millions of dollars that should be going to American citizens, but now are going to these illegal aliens. And I just want to say, having lived in topical countries where people talk about a lot lately, like Hong Kong, which used to be part of Britain, is now part of China, and now is having the whole democracy thing going on. Hong Kong would never, ever, ever allow any illegal immigrants. There's no such thing as illegal immigrants in Hong Kong. And if there was any illegal immigrants, like every single person that works in Hong Kong, whether it be a Filipino worker that works as a maid, has to have an employment visa, employment application, and as soon as that employment is ceased, she's deported, sent back to the Philippines. Same thing for Singapore. If there's people from third world countries, let's just say like Bangladesh or India or wherever, it could be black, white, Asian, whatever skin color. If you are not a permanent resident or a citizen in Singapore, guess what? Afterwards, you leave. It's so simple. And there's no such thing as free healthcare for any legal or illegal immigrant in Hong Kong and Singapore. I worked in Asia for 20, 30 years. I never got free healthcare. I was a legal immigrant. I have friends from Europe living in Singapore. When they go see the doctor, they pay their own bills. If they would never even dream, there's no such thing as free money for them. When the pandemic hit, the Singaporean citizens and Singaporean permanent residents got money. Similar to the US, they got money. But if you were a legal immigrant, a legal worker, you didn't get anything. You didn't get a dime.
So what's the question?
So my question is, what is your view, Tom's view on immigration, and how does that differ from Biden? Because what I see in Biden is that we all thought that he was going to veer left to the AOC, and then once he got like the party nomination, then he was going to veer more towards the center. But now, with about 100 days to the election, he seems basically to embracing the AOC Ilhan Omar side of things, and Bernie Sanders.
Okay, so your question was, what's my view on immigration and what is Biden's plan for immigration?
Yeah, and are they different?
So in reverse order, I'll take the last one. I don't think they're that different. I think we're quite aligned. My view on immigration is that, first of all, we have to acknowledge that this is one of the things that makes this country very unique is its diversity, and that we have people from all different backgrounds. As you know, Peter, you are an immigrant, right?
I'm a first generation immigrant. Yes.
Yeah, right. And I don't think you've done terrible things to the country.
And also, just so you know, I was a first generation immigrant to Singapore as well.
Yeah. So
I've been an immigrant in 2 different countries, so I think I know about immigration.
Right, and you are an immigrant of this country.
I'm an immigrant of this country, and I'm also an immigrant of Singapore.
Yes. So my point is that when you think about a lot of great American organizations, you think about great companies, you think about Tesla, you think about a variety of different entrepreneurial in the tech industry. There's plenty of heads of companies that immigrated from other places.
Hey, Tom, you don't have to sell me on immigration. I believe in immigration, merit-based immigration.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
like your dad was a merit-based immigration, if I was correct, right?
Our dad, yeah.
Our dad, yeah.
I mean, apparently, we believe we have the same father. Sometimes I wonder. At any rate, yeah. So my position on immigration is I think it's a good thing. I think immigration is good, and I think So
what do you think my view? What do you think my view is on immigration?
Hold on, dude. You asked me what my view. I think sometimes you ask a question, but you really want to just impose your view on other people. So if you want to have just a debate, I'm happy to do it. But you asked to come on saying, "Hey, I want to learn more about your view."
I do want to learn more about the democratic way. Yes, tell me more. Okay. Share it.
So my view is that we are a nation of immigrants, and we can also be a nation of laws, and the two are not mutually exclusive.
That is a very good speech that Obama made.
Yeah. I also feel like there are improvements that we probably should make to the immigration kind of policies. What I disagree with is, can you put the camera on you, or am I talking to the dog? Like, seriously? Like, who's the older brother here?
You are.
Yeah, I certainly act like it. So my point is that you can be a great country, and we are a great country because of a lot of contributions from immigrants. I lived in Europe, as you know, for the last 4 years. And a lot of the Europeans think of America as like, oh, yeah, that's where all the poor, lower class Europeans went, back in the 1800s. It wasn't, America was not like the place where the top of European society wanted to go. So I think that gives us as a country the scrappiness, this kind of little chip on our shoulder. And it results in innovation. It results in us kind of not assuming that anything can't be done. So I don't have a problem with immigration. I also don't have a problem with enforcing the laws. I mean, one of the things I will say that I'm surprised that Trump and the Republicans don't talk a lot about is why don't they enforce employment law more aggressively? I feel like they are always talking about the wall, but we all know there are a lot of large American businesses that are powered by labor that is often not fully documented. And those shareholders are fine with it because it cuts their costs down. And then we can go to Costco and we can get like a giant bag of oranges for a few bucks. I mean, that's not because they're paying labor 15, 20 bucks an hour and with benefits. So short answer is my position on immigration is I think it's part of what makes this country great. I also don't think it can be unlimited. And I don't think, and neither is Biden proposing anything about providing free health care to anybody that steps over the border. That's not part of his plan.
No, that's during the Democratic debate, they asked people to raise their hand, and Biden, including everyone else on the stage, raised their hand.
Well, the question was, are you in favor of like provide any health care to illegal immigrants? And the reality is that's what we do today. If any illegal immigrant goes to the emergency room, they are provided care. And similarly, if any American citizen goes to the emergency room, even if they are uninsured, they get free care. Now, if you want to change that law, you're welcome to, but that's
how does that work in the rest of the world? How does that, I mean, thank the Lord, I've never had to go to emergency room, and I don't think you have either. But how does that work in Switzerland?
How does it work in Switzerland? I don't know. I've never had to go to the emergency room uninsured, but I know in America, the reason, I mean, part of it is a pragmatic one. If someone's like got their arm bleeding and they're dying, are we really going to say, oh, sir, could you please provide your insurance card? And, we're going to kind of not provide you immediate care.
Well, one of the things that I like
if you're really concerned about illegal immigration, the way to stop it is not to build a wall.
Well, the wall is there not just for the illegal immigration. It's there for the drugs and the child sex trafficking.
You think the wall is going to stop the drugs, dude?
And the child sex trafficking.
Oh, so that's why Trump wants to build a wall, because he's worried about
the wall is a multi-purpose wall.
Why aren't you supporting a massive? You know what you asked about Switzerland? You know what Switzerland's hardcore about?
Don't know.
They are hardcore about making sure every company has appropriate authorization to employ the people that are on Swiss territory.
That's what Singapore does too.
But you and I both know American businesses, many of which are owned by large industrial interests, knowingly employ undocumented workers because it's just so easy to kind of fill out like a fake I-9. And if the government really cared deeply, they would crack down on it. And the reason why they send troops to protect Confederate statues and not enforce employment laws because they're in on it. I mean, that's the hypocrisy of this immigration debate. We as Americans benefit from all of this low-cost labor, but then we don't like the fact that there are undocumented workers here, but we rise and sleep, with the benefits of that subsidized labor. This is why when you go to Switzerland, everybody who visited me in Switzerland would comment, well, it's so expensive here. Why is a hamburger $20? And I said,
I hated it.
You know why a hamburger's $20? Because you have to pay people full wages to raise the cow. You have to pay people full wages to make the cheese. In the kitchen, everybody is a Swiss citizen and making probably $30-$40 an hour. That adds up, and you can't get $1.99 hamburger.
Is your grocery
paid labor?
Are your grocery bills a lot cheaper because it doesn't have the built-in service charges, or are they also high? Like, as an example, now I'm eating that Beyond Beef.
Anything that requires labor, like the truck driver that brings the Beyond Beef over, the warehouse staff, the cashier at the grocery store, the stock boy, all that stuff. In a country where if you really take documentation seriously, then you're going to have to pay a lot more. And it's the same way you also feel very strongly about trade. I disagree. It's like, okay, if you don't like free trade, then stop going to Walmart and buying all this stuff from China.
So here's the thing, Tom. What you've said so far, I probably, and most people are going to agree 95% or 99%, right? So I don't really see that you've highlighted the differences between the Democratic viewpoint and the Republican viewpoint, because you're saying basically you're I wouldn't say rambling off, but you're just mentioning stuff that we all know. Like, yeah, it would be great to have ID checks, and yeah, it's keeping costs lower.
Well, I'm not the president. Why doesn't the president do any of this stuff?
But I thought we were going to talk about the Democrats.
Well, I'm saying everything that the Republicans agree to. They clearly don't, because I judge them by their actions.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, you're saying a lot of stuff that is very agreeable, but there's no, like, I don't feel like there's a big difference. Whereas, like, I know that Joe Biden wants open borders, given the fact that, California and all them, they're giving free money right now during the pandemic to all the illegals.
All right. Where do you see the Biden plan proposing opening all the borders?
No, but do you agree that right now California, your new home state, is giving millions of dollars to illegals for pandemic relief? Cash.
I don't know about that, but if it happened, I don't think it's the end of the world.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
Really? Because the California economy is powered by illegal labor. So what are we going to do when they all get COVID and spread it around? We're just going to let it go?
Okay, so here's my take on the whole immigration thing. I have a few questions. I don't know why, if the economy is slowing right now and if businesses are paused, of course, yes, there's been reopening. Why don't we take this opportunity to kick all these illegals out and employ them with lawful Americans? Now, the question is,
because lawful Americans don't want to do those jobs.
Those jobs, yes. We've talked about this. Where are those jobs? And how much do they pay?
They're like in meat packing factories. They're landscaping.
And how much do they pay?
They're house cleaning. Right now they pay the market rate, which is probably like $10 an hour or less. And most American citizens don't want it.
And how much are American citizens getting, like, at their the low?
I don't know, maybe $15-20 an hour. But if you want to go to your Swiss example, a cleaning lady in Switzerland is $40 an hour.
Well, I would propose, instead of giving people UBI, then you transfer these people to those lower income jobs that in those factories or landscaping, and maybe you could tack on a government subsidy on that.
I think that doesn't address a lot of the other benefits of UBI. UBI isn't just to help people do jobs they don't want to do. That's not the point of UBI. UBI is to give everybody an economic floor, so that we know that everybody in the country, every citizen, does not have to go under the poverty level. And it also allows people to have more job flexibility and more kind of options. It's not so that we can get more citizens working in meatpacking factories. In fact, many of those meatpacking factory jobs may not even be around later anyway.
Look, I don't think welfare system has really done America a great service in the last few decades. I mean, it was kind of
but that's not what UBI is.
It was almost like a Band-Aid, and it's become like a fixture.
In fact, the welfare system that you describe penalizes work, because if you are receiving benefits, there are these known cliffs where if you get a job, you're actually worse off economically. UBI, the U is universal, but often described as unconditional. So if you get a job, you don't get penalized. Whereas welfare, you not only have to not have a job often, but then you have to spend it on all these specific things that the government dictates to you, which is very anti-freedom in many ways.
Okay, maybe we're like I'm trying too much to debate with you. I do want to try to understand this whole Biden thing on
Yeah, so
borders and
you were
immigration.
saying that he's for open borders. He's not. You're saying that we're it's terrible that states are spending money for COVID relief on illegal immigrants. I don't think that's the end of the world, and I also think it's a public health issue where there's two things. One, if this money is for testing and treatment, then I'm 100% in favor of it because it's in no one's interest to have the virus continue to spread. The second thing is we have, as a country, we have to come to terms with the benefits we get from what you call illegals. They are doing jobs for American citizens, providing services and value at below market rates.
I want those American citizens to do those jobs.
Well, you can ask them, but they're welcome to. But I don't think they will. I think what will happen is they will at the right market rate. And then here's a question for you. In a world where there's no undocumented workers and there's no excessive imports from China, everyone listening to this will have probably a third of the possessions and kind of services available to them than they do today. Now, I might be actually okay with that. Maybe we go with that Swiss model and we say, you know, everything's going to be 3 times as much because then we don't have to be so dependent on other countries for cheap products or cheap labor. But that's not the way it is today. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have this 2-car, big house, you know, fill the SUV up with stuff from Costco, go to Walmart and get a TV for a few $100 and say, like, I hate China and I hate illegals. Like, they actually go together. Our lifestyle is powered by free trade and undocumented workers.
So listen, Tom, I mean, like, part of the things, like, before we begin this discussion, I didn't think you were ever going to convince me. And I don't think last week, I might have convinced 1 or 2 viewers to go Trump. I'm not sure. But I think that where we agree probably is that right now, America has never been as divisive as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. I mean, I remember, like, during the presidential elections, I mean, like, whether Democrat won or Republican won, it really wasn't a huge thing. But now it seems like, okay, there's people that are full on red MAGA, and then there's the rest of the, you guys that are full anti-Trump, anti-MAGA thing. Where do you see this whole thing heading? Like, I mean, obviously you guys didn't think Trump was going to get elected, and now you guys probably don't think he's going to get reelected. Where does this whole thing go if Trump does get reelected? And where does this thing go if Trump doesn't get reelected? Because, like, does that mean, for me, we're going to have, like, pandemonium? Basically people can just go crazy on the streets. There's no law and order. Where do you see this thing headed, dude?
I agree with you that we are more polarized now than I've ever seen. I do remember in the 80s, Mom being really, really anti-Dukakis and Jesse Jackson. And there were times where we, as a country, were a bit polarized, but I think it's far worse now. And I think the main reason is that it's very lucrative to kind of play up that polarization. I was talking to someone who asked not to be revealed, but they were very well known in they work in broadcasting. And they said, if I have a show that's about the reasonable compromise, the sort of complex, nuanced solution to root cause, like long-term problems, my show will be canceled within a month because the ratings will be shit. And the person was saying, but if I do the opposite and I call the other side evil, whether communist or fascist, whatever side you want, racist, bigots, hypocrites, my ratings will go up. More advertisers will want to reach my audience, and I'm gonna get a new house and probably a second house in the Hamptons. So what do you want? What's that person supposed to do? So at any rate, agree with you that we're more polarized. To answer your question about what will happen if Trump is not reelected, first of all, I think it will be amazing. And I think there will be 7 days of great celebration across the country and the entire world. And I think we'll all sleep a lot better knowing that there's at least like more honest and more kind of pragmatic leadership and a real team sworn in January. But it will not be the end of the polarization. I think the MAGA people, probably stirred up by a very embarrassed Donald, will continue the demonization of the other side. They'll continue kind of making believe that somehow like AOC is in charge of the Democratic Party and the mobs are taking over and everyone's for open borders. And that's not true.
Last week that 60% of Democrats are okay with communism, right?
No, we did not discuss that. We said 60% of Democrats support Black Lives Matter and 25% of Republicans do.
Oh, okay. So there was another article, I think I forwarded you in the family chat, which was, I think it was a few years ago, 2001, maybe last year, like 37% of, I think all millennials, not just Democrats, all millennials across the board. So I guess it's going to be higher for the Democrats, have a favorable view of communism or socialism.
Can you send that to me? I don't believe that.
I'll send it to you.
Wait, hold on.
I sent it.
I sent it to you. You can't talk about those two terms so loosely. You can't say communism or socialism. They're very different. Right? Like, we already have Social Security here. We have Medicare here. Those are clearly socialist policies that Republicans benefit from. You know that actually for Social Security and Medicare, people like Mom get more benefits than she contributed. Are you okay with that? Because that's coming out of my paycheck.
That's the system that was set up, right?
But if you're anti-socialism, then why don't you argue for the dismantling of Medicare and Social Security and just have private savings accounts?
Let me dig up that article, but I sent it in a family political chat. I don't want to dig for it now because I want to give you my full attention.
Okay.
But
so my point is like I think you have to be really careful about throwing around terms like, oh, all Democrats or 60% of Democrats are in favor of communism. Because if you said 60% of Democrats support some elements of socialism, I would say, yeah, because 100% of Americans benefit from it.
Where is AOC in the spectrum of things on a 1 to 10? Like if 1 is Republican values, libertarian values, capitalism values, where is AOC?
I guess since she's so openly supported Bernie, she's probably leans socialist.
So what, a 10?
No, I mean, if 10 is like full on, maybe she's like a 7. I don't know.
So 7, but she's.
But you got to acknowledge that we in America are already probably at a 4 or 5.
Where are you?
Maybe like 6 or 6. I don't know.
Okay. The other thing was like for you.
But where are you? Because where are you?
I'm probably 1 or 2.
Okay, so then why aren't you demanding the dismantling of all the socialist policies we have here? Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, those are socialist things. They're basically redistributing wealth.
this is one thing which I went on your show, which I wish we had, which is probably not the MAGA way and not the Republican way, is that I think that it would be good to have some type of universal, medical system or something. Because
I think that would be good.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're paying too much for prescription medicine. We're paying too much for surgeries. I mean, hospitals have become a for-profit business. I mean, insurance. It's just a freaking. Does the U.S. pay more for medical stuff for the same quality than the rest of the world, or we just pay more but we get better quality?
No, we pay more but get poorer quality.
All right. So yeah, I mean, like that's probably one thing that I would want to fix.
If you're 1 or 2,
yeah,
you cannot be for universal healthcare then. Once you ask for universal healthcare, you're probably in the 6. You're probably closer to AOC.
Good God. Well, I mean, just for the audience to let you know, I mean, like, I don't have health insurance. I had health insurance, which I paid for in Singapore, and health insurance here is freaking expensive. So yeah, I wish there was some type of cheap thing, but even that ACA plan is not cheap.
No, it's not. And it got more expensive after the mandate was removed. Your funny story. I have a funny story for you. So when Mom came over to Switzerland the first year, I told her, like, oh, we have to get you health insurance because the law here in Switzerland is that everyone must have health insurance, because if they don't and they get sick, then the rest of the country has to kind of pay for it. And that's not fair.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Ukraine has the same system.
Right. And you know what she said to me? She said, that's great. That's fantastic. And I said, Mom, you know that the central premise of Obamacare was the mandate, and it was the same exact thing. And she said, no. Obamacare was socialism. So I guess my point here is, like, if you try and dig past the sloganism, like open borders, communism, sanctuary cities, AOC, and you really dig into the actual policy, I think you'll find that I guess I'll call them center-left Democrats tend to be very reasonable.
Yeah, just to harp on that point, I mean, like, I believe if I'm an immigrant to another country, that I should not be a burden to the society. So, like, I'm not surprised that, I mean, places like Switzerland and, I'm going to be moving to Ukraine soon, require that all foreigners have health insurance and proof of health insurance for the period of their intended stay. So that, they don't become a burden, or, they don't stick the state with a hospital bill. Wow, so I don't know whether that's what AOC's view or MAGA view, but I think this just makes common sense.
But the MAGA view is that its citizens are allowed to not have insurance and basically become a burden on the society.
Well, I think what we are saying, and just step back 30 seconds, is that all immigrants, so Mom in Singapore, me in Europe, should not become a burden on society.
But citizens can?
Yes, maybe. So what I'm saying is that if you're going to be an illegal or illegal immigrant to these United States of America, then we should force you to buy insurance.
Why can't we force people who are born here to buy insurance?
Let's force the people that are not born here first.
But what about after that?
What do you mean?
Like, why can't you just make that intellectual leap, like be consistent? The only way that you would defend that position is if you thought for some reason that native-borns somehow are entitled to free healthcare while everybody else has to buy insurance.
Well, Americans are entitled to certain privileges just by being American than if non-Americans. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, but does free healthcare?
Obviously Switzerland.
Is free healthcare part of it?
Because
that's the system that you're asking for. So you want only immigrants to pay for health insurance and all the native-borns to not?
Maybe.
How does that work?
I don't know. Is that AOC's position?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want any freebies for the illegals.
But you do want unsustainable freebies for native-borns.
I want, like I said, I just want to,
be very honest. I believe that we should have some type of healthcare system for Americans.
What if I told you that if you ran the numbers, a lot of the, hold on a second. Whoever is in here, get out now. I'm in a live stream. Get out and close the door. Jesus. What if I told you that if you ran the numbers, the benefits provided
I'm not
to the
obsessed
American,
with AOC, but I do think about it a lot. Yeah.
what if I told you that if you ran the numbers, the benefits that undocumented workers or illegal immigrants provide to the economy was greater than the services they consumed?
Well, I'm sure they're providing some services. I'm sure they're providing some benefits. I mean, they're working.
They're
But they
working
should
for
be
half
legal.
the market rate.
Okay.
So basically, they are paying for their own insurance. And
Well,
yours
they're hurting the poor people, which is predominantly, unfortunately, the minorities. I mean, they're probably not hurting Harvard educated white people or Asian people. You know, they're probably hurting the people in the inner city. Those inner city people could be working those great jobs in those food processing plants, you know, instead of getting shot on the streets and dealing drugs.
So your argument is that because of
Yeah, I
illegal
mean, like, dude,
immigrants,
they're taking away
the source of our problems in the inner city?
Yeah, they're taking away all those great jobs from those inner city youth. Like, they could be aspiring to working in a food processing plant, you know, probably getting health care, right, from the big companies, and living in rural America, and, you know, not being worried about being shot at or, you know, involved in petty crime or drugs or anything like that. You know?
I think the problems in the inner city have nothing to do with illegal immigration.
Nothing.
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 No.
What's that?
It's Joe calling me. Hold on. Let me
Gosh,
turn
put
off.
him on the line.
No way, dude. It'll be like a whole family thing. Yeah, the problems with the inner city are a lack of investment in sort of early childhood services, and frankly, the legacy of slavery.
Oh my God. What was it Obama said? Obama said that youths that are born without a father, I forgot what it is, 5 times more likely to be X, 9 times as more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to be incarcerated. So I don't know what the first thing was.
I would not be surprised. I mean, if you think of a lot of the folks in like West Virginia, it's not just inner cities, just lower income, struggling communities all over the country with broken up families, opium addiction or opiates addiction. It's a terrible situation. And oh my God, they just let the dog in here.
So I don't know why they would let the dog in there, but what I realize is that you and I, and probably your audience that are part of this, we don't really know what real America is like, because I have not walked down some inner city street, you know, and I don't care to. And I think those inner city people, they have very different role models, because just so your audience knows, I mean, I do watch a lot of alternative. I don't just watch like white you know, media. I watch black media. I have black friends. I follow black Instagram people, watch people, black people from YouTube. And I just feel like sometimes they just have, unfortunately, they have a different mindset or role models. Again, I don't know what it's like, but on the other hand, I see that they've made such tremendous progress. Again, if we were to touch on the Black Lives people, is that in terms of media and entertainment, then what, I mean, the thing about, like, when we grew up, I think most football players were white, right? Now it's mostly black. So I just feel that, you know, we're living in like 4 different Americas. Okay. MAGA America, left-wing Bernie Sanders, AOC America, and then inner city America, and then people like you working for Google, you know, with 2 kids, nice 2 cars, and remote working America. You know, it's a very different world.
So what do you think we should do about such a country with so many different realities?
Well, I don't know the answer, but I think also because America is so diverse, more diverse than most countries out there. I mean, certainly more diverse than if you take a look at our major political partners. We're more diverse than Russia or China, right? So with more, diversity, obviously comes, more potential for conflict. But I also hark back to what you were saying about how, like, the news people want to kind of blow up the whole, hatred and just like exacerbate the situation, when I think there's actually been really, really good strides in all those communities, from the Latino community, the Black community, to the Middle Eastern community coming here, the Asian community, the white community. There's been so much progress over the last 20,
I would
30
actually
years.
disagree with you on one of the key elements there. I think working class white people have been totally screwed by this country in the last few decades.
Okay,
I don't think their situation has gotten much better at all.
so that's sad.
And I think that's why Trump was elected, because they said, hey, the same old crap from Hillary is not, I've heard it before. More free college is not going to solve my problems. If I'm living in central or western Pennsylvania or West Virginia, or my factory just closed down in Michigan, that's not going to do it. NAFTA is not going to do it for me. And Trump came over and said, the problem is these Mexicans, and I'm going to build a wall. And the problem is these Chinese, trade deals. I'm going to solve all of that. And, they were like, well, I don't know if it's going to work, but it's better than nothing. And
But
so the sad thing is that they still got screwed. Like, those tax cuts did not help working class white people.
How do you reconcile the fact that, obviously, I like Trump? One of the things is that he basically did what he said he was going to do, which is so different from most politicians when they run for office. So, I mean, like, in terms of NAFTA's gone. Now it's replaced by USMCA.
Mm-hmm.
And then China trade has been renegotiated. We had trade war for, like, I think over a year, and we renegotiated everything.
And
so,
now
I mean,
that deal's gone anyway. Yeah.
So, but what do you say to that? I mean, like, wasn't all that good?
No.
What do you think of USMCA?
No, I think this whole trade thing is a complete red herring. And I think it's really convenient to blame Mexico and China for all our problems, because it feels good to blame another tribe. But the reality is that in a modern economy, more and more value, economic value, is being created by a smaller number of people. And adding tariffs to some plastic toys from China ain't going to help the guy in West Virginia. And building a wall in Mexico is not going to help someone in Detroit. The reality is that this economy is record highs in terms of GDP, and had some records in terms of stock market, but those benefits don't go to a huge swath of the country. And no one other than Andrew Yang was willing to talk about how we need to basically, like, rewrite the rules of how this thing works. Because if you play this out, not everyone is going to become an artificial intelligence engineer at Facebook. Like, sorry.
So where does this go? Because I think you highlighted to me years ago that we might have civil war. I know some of my alt-right friends think there's going to be potential civil war. And, like, where does that go? Because, like, it's not like a civil war between North and Southern states. I mean, how does that work?
I mean, if you look at world history, these are not hard to predict. This is basically a situation where a large majority of people without, reasonable economic resources at some point say, no more.
So what's going to happen? Well, okay, so it's going to be like a French Revolution or or the situation happened with the Tsar in Russia, something like that.
It doesn't have to be. A better way out would be to say, look, we as a country are richer than we've ever been.
Yeah.
But there is probably a better way to do this. And the way to do it is to give some economic floor so that no matter who you are, even if you aren't getting that fancy job, working for Goldman Sachs or whatever, you're gonna be able to have some basic necessities, and then whatever job you can get either will be something that you really like, or will give you some extra money so you can have more resources. And we still have generally a free market capitalist system, but it doesn't start at zero.
See, I might not be totally opposed to that, but my fear, and I think a lot of fear from the MAGA people, will be that this will just be like a huge attraction to illegal immigration, birth babies, all that type of thing. I mean, how are you going to give $1,000 to every American? So let's just imagine you're in high school, you're 18 years old, you're American, either born American or naturalized American. You're going to get $1,000, but your illegal undocumented friend, who's also 18 from whatever country, going to the same high school, doesn't get the $1,000. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, probably there will be less of an incentive to cross over illegally, because you'll know that you're not getting these benefits. And secondly, I would be very okay with the combination of basic income plus very strict enforcement of our immigration laws. Because in a way, illegal immigration and the economic kind of theft that we all benefit from is kind of like a very messy UBI. And I'd rather just have a very clean, open one and transparent one, which is like, hey, we're going to tax this economy so that there's a floor, but it's only eligible for citizens because we can't possibly give this to anyone that walks over the border. And then if you do come over in an undocumented way, like, we're sorry, you're not going to have any of these benefits.
Yeah, I hear you. What my fear is that a lot of the people that are really, really left, they are having a globalist vision where everyone in the world has a UBI. I think even Zuckerberg had mentioned that a few years back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, there's nothing. Why is that a problem? If other countries have UBI, there would probably be less need to have this kind of spikes in migration.
Oh, so it's not going to be like a UBI that America needs to support for like Latin America or something like that.
Every country could decide to implement it. And if you're in Latin America and there's UBI, then maybe actually you'd be better off staying.
No, but we won't have to pay for it. Americans won't have to pay for the Latin American UBI.
No,
because let me just explain to you. Part of, I think, the MAGA, again, I don't speak for MAGA, I speak for myself. But I think a fair people of the MAGA is like, we just fear that, okay, this is just going to be another thing where America is going to have to eventually pay into, we're going to have to do paying UBI for people in Somalia.
Why would we pay UBI?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like,
where did you see that policy?
This is a fear. It's a fear. We have this fear. I have the fear. I have this fear.
I haven't seen anybody advocate that. How would that even be sustainable?
I'm just sharing with you my fear. I'm just sharing with you. Just putting it out there.
Well, I mean, to your point, why wouldn't we focus on UBI for our own citizens?
So look, I mean, I'm not saying I'm for UBI, but if you could have a pathway to having a UBI where we would be guaranteed that we wouldn't be paying into some UBI for the rest of the world, and that we would have a very strong border enforcement, and that there would no be any like trickle down UBI where, all of a sudden it'd be like, oh yeah, we'll just extend UBI to all people, or maybe California, being very liberal, and say, okay, well, since the federal government are not giving you UBI, we'll give you the UBI, and then we have to bail out California or some shit like that.
I'm pretty sure California gives more to the federal budget than maybe any other state, maybe with the exception of New York. I
Mm.
mean, so I do want to call that BS out, where a lot of MAGA people complain about having to bail out these Democrat states. But the reality is that these Democrat states are the ones that are paying for a lot of these southeastern, red states.
So
Now,
where?
the other thing is about your fear.
Yeah.
Like, why are you? This only happens if Congress and the president support it. So do you really think the Senate would approve taxing Americans to provide basic income to people in Somalia? How is that even sustainable?
Well, I hope you're right. Yeah.
And
With
so
NATO,
but what about NATO?
we pay a huge portion of NATO.
No, we don't. That's such a fallacy.
We had that
No.
discussion a few months ago.
No, it's not how NATO works. There's no like NATO bill that every country gets. You know how NATO funding
Yeah, you're
works?
supposed to spend according to your
You're
GDP.
supposed to spend on your own freaking military. And somehow we're saying that the Germans, because they're not paying for their own army,
Yeah.
like they should pay us because they're choosing not to buy more like Joint Strike fighters. Like that's up to them. If they don't want it, then don't make them.
So Tom, do
this
you have any?
this whole notion of other countries not paying America is just, it plays into this MAGA tribalism, which is like these freaking Germans and these freaking French are taking advantage of us and they're laughing at us and they're playing us for suckers, and the freaking Merkel's for open borders. It's like such bull when you actually look up how NATO works.
Well,
It is every country spends their own money on their own military. Yes, they don't spend as high of a percentage of GDP as we do. We don't have to. If we don't like it, we could reduce our spending, but we don't want to.
I have had French friends that have immigrated to the U.S. because they were so sick of the socialism and high taxes in France. And basically, one French lady, she was explaining to me around a year ago that in France, they don't have a conservative. Basically, their most conservative is like the AOC there in France. So, again, I definitely do not want to be like Europe.
That's another tribal thing where it's like, oh, I don't want to be like these people, so therefore I must be on team red. But the reality is like both statements can be true. You could have a lot of issues with the French tax system and still be for American reform.
So anything else you want to go over today? I mean,
I don't know. You said you wanted to come on to ask me questions, but obviously
I have been asking you questions. And
did we answer all your questions?
Yeah, but I'm still going to vote Trump for sure. I mean, I'm not.
That's not surprising. Yeah. How about this? We've got a few minutes left, about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any audience questions for Peter or for me. So if you guys, there's about 44 people on YouTube and probably a couple dozen on Twitter. If you have any questions for Peter or me, put those into the chat. And while we're waiting for those questions, I did want to call out one thing to you, Peter, that I don't think you fully appreciate. Yes, Hitachi, go ahead. Hook us up with some questions, Hitachi.
Yes, hook us up, Hitachi.
One thing I don't think you appreciate, when you were talking about last time how Black Americans should be grateful for all the progress that they've made, and you just don't understand why they don't whatever, why they have so many single parent families, yada yada. I think if you had a race of people, call them purple, and you had owned them as property for a century, and you deprived them of literacy, and you purposely split up their families, and then overnight you said, okay, now you're free. Good luck. Become a great American citizen. That's very hard to do. That's not something you fix in one generation or maybe even 10. Do you acknowledge that? Do you acknowledge that we basically, as a country, obviously you and I were not part of this, but as a country, we as a country completely screwed an entire community of people of education, of culture. We wouldn't even allow family units to stay together. It was basically against economic interests. They were purposely separated. They couldn't get married.
2 points, Tom. Slavery has been around for millennia.
Yes.
Egyptians who were black enslaved Jews, okay,
Mhm.
as an example. Number two, slavery was outlawed in 1865. As far as I know, that's like a long time ago. And then we had the 1960s, the Civil Rights Revolution. So how do you explain all these successful black people now that are, you know, very successful entrepreneurs in business, in politics, in public speaking, in entertainment and sports?
I don't think that saying, oh, look, I mean, then I could say, well, look, we had a black president, therefore we no longer have any problems. Right? If I were to take your logic, you're saying, hey, I can find you examples of successful black people, therefore there's no more black problems in the black community. And what I'm saying is the opposite. I'm saying, yes, of course, there's always exceptions to the rule. There's always people who are extraordinary that beat the odds. But the underlying problem is we've robbed an entire community of people of multiple generations of culture, of community, of family units, of literacy. And when you point out that, well, hey, the Egyptians had slaves too, it sort of marginalizes the problem we have here.
Well, look, I'm not saying this, but if your viewers want to Google YouTube Candace Owens, she's a young black lady, conservative, 31 years old. And, you know, she basically was saying, like, today's music, the black music, hip hop glorifies crime, rape, shootings. What do you expect?
Right. So you're saying it's the problem of hip hop. It's not the fact that we as a country owned a race of people.
So look, dude, I'm a big believer in the human potential movement, as you know. Like, I believe in a positive attitude. Like, look at Stephen Hawking. He's not black, right? If you know his story, he was like diagnosed with, you know, basically became a
All right, hold on, Peter. I just realized we only have a minute left. Let's get a couple questions in. Hitachi, how sure are you that you really have? I'm pretty sure we have the same dad, sadly. I think we're just. Why do you think we're so different? Maybe that's the question.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
You used to be alt-right when I've always been mainstream.
No, I've been a Republican.
You were trying to get me to listen to freaking what was that very conservative guy, radio talk, Rush Limbaugh. You loved Rush Limbaugh. I was like, why do I care about Rush Limbaugh?
So everyone knows that I've been a Republican until 2008. Yeah. And I haven't changed at all. I'm still a man of logic and facts and data. I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me.
Oh, so sweet.
Right?
Walk away. Hashtag walk away campaign. Walk away for the Democrats. Walk away. Blexit.
Would you vote for Yang would you vote for Yang in 2024? So
look, I'm not sure because I'm not sure I believe in UBI. As an Asian, I think I'll just say that it would be good for Asian, pride and, help minority rights. But I'm not sure. Like, Yang seems to be, honestly, I feel that you guys all think he's so smart. He seems like a one platform candidate, one product. It's like UBI. I mean, everyone thinks so smart.
Think of Yang's proposals on education reform.
So I don't know.
What did you think of his policies on voting reform? Wait, hold on. You cannot say he's only for one policy if you haven't done your research.
I have subscribed to the Yang Speaks, but obviously, he's not going to be any candidate. I'm following him on YouTube.
But you said that he's only for one policy, but you also said you've never went to his website to look at his policies.
That's true.
And you're a MAGA voter.
Don't try to make the two.
All right. Zajanram, go ahead. Put your question in the chat. I'll make yours the last one.
I thought you had a special person to ask us some questions.
I think that's Zajanram. He's saying you're killing Zajanram. Just put your question in the chat, man. We're out of time. All All right, let's see. We'll give Zajanram a little bit of time. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up, sir?
No, Tom. I mean, you've worn me out. I mean, it's been a good talk. I mean, still trying to understand the whole, democratic way. I think it's we're so close. I mean, actually, there's not that much difference in opinions, but we're so far apart. Also, it's weird.
All right, Patrick has a question. I would just comment on your last statement. We're close when we actually try and listen to each other. We're far when we devolve into sloganism.
I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to listen to you.
Oh, you, it sounds like, yeah, I think you answered your question. You would not vote for Yang in 2024. You kind of like him because he's Asian, but you're afraid that we're going to give UBI to the Somalis. Is that your position?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a view on Israel?
I'm pro-Israel.
Okay. What does that mean?
We support Israel militarily if there's some problems.
So why are you okay with all the money that we give in foreign aid to Israel, but not to other countries?
I'm not saying I'm against all foreign aid, Tom, but I think Israel has been our staunch ally in the Middle East.
All right. So you are okay with taxing the American people and giving it to non-Americans?
Well, I'm not okay just giving it outright. If you tell me that our money is going to go for UBI for Somalia, then hell no.
Right. But if it's for military aid to Israel, you're okay with it?
Thumbs up on that. Yep.
Is there any limit to it?
Of course there's a limit to it. I don't know what the limit is, but yeah, that's determined by Congress.
Would like $1 billion?
Why are you guys anti-Israel? Yeah, I noticed.
I'm not anti-Israel, but I am very well. Number one, I do think that Israel gets a free pass on the way it treats the Palestinians. I don't think anybody here in America really challenges it. I mean, a very small number of people do. And I think the second thing is I do have a problem with more than $1 billion going every year to Israel. I think that money should first go to supporting and rebuilding America before we rebuild Israel.
How much do we give to Israel?
How much do you think? If I told you it was $1 billion, do you think that's enough? Is that too much?
That's a drop in the bucket.
It's $4 billion plus $8 billion in loan guarantees.
Yeah.
And you were mad that California is providing COVID relief to some undocumented workers here for a few million, but giving multi-billion to Israel is okay for you.
73 million.
Okay.
Or 700 million.
Versus like more than $1 billion.
Yeah. Is there any other question? Where's
yeah, what happened to the guy that was saying he had all these questions?
Yeah, man. Did we scare him away? Don't be scared.
I think he wanted to come on the show and really speak to you directly, but obviously that's not the way we scheduled for this one. So he's
saying, is there any way he can voice his question? You can voice his question. I thought I can write the question.
I wrote like 6 pages. Okay. Well, how about this? I think, Zajanram, what we'll do is when we have another Nerds for Humanity panel discussion, maybe we could do one with you, Peter, and we could have a little group conversation.
Yeah.
Someone was asking about the Tesla, my view on Tesla. So I recently got one just a few hours ago. It's great. It's amazing. It's like driving the future. Yeah, it's if anybody's in the market for a Tesla, consider it and use my referral link. Do you believe everything that Trump says, or do you agree that probably he lies?
No, I don't think he lies. I don't agree with everything he says. Look, I'm not going to agree with every single politician that I support, but I think in general, he's speaking to the heart of America. He believes in basically, I hate to say the phrase, making America great again. Protecting American rights, stands for pride and liberty in our flag. And I think sometimes, as I mentioned to you, Trump talks simplistic because he knows a lot of the audience are not going to be able to listen 1 hour, you and me, or debating minute points.
But they're not points like what? How much money we spend on Israel?
So he likes Trump dumbs it down.
Yeah, but if you dumb it down, then you don't end up with the best policy for the country.
Well, no, he's dumbing it down so that the electorate won't be like glossed over. So he's smart in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question from Kirsch. Is there something the two of you would agree is a good idea by Trump? And is there something the two of you would agree is a good idea by Biden? But I would imagine, I think both of us are intrigued and supportive of more merit-based immigration policy.
So you're saying that you like Trump's idea of merit-based immigration?
Well, I mean, it's a European policy, right? That's what they do in Europe.
Okay. So
it's
you're saying
that
Trump's idea is making
to do
sense.
what Europe does.
Does what Europe does, or Singapore.
Yeah, basically
and
every other country.
Yeah.
It's not Trump's idea.
Okay. So you agree that that's a good idea?
I agree that it's crazy that there are highly skilled workers that have very unique skills and are often educated at the best American universities, and then they can't stay here and work for American companies. It's crazy.
So my question is, why wouldn't Biden support that?
I don't know what his I actually, when I looked at his immigration stuff, I think he's more focused on kind of undoing a lot of the kind of crazy Trump stuff.
I saw that, and I'm totally for that whole Trump ban from those 7 or 8 countries, and I'm totally supporting Trump's ban on asylum in general. Like, dude, we don't need 17,000 or 70,000 asylum seekers here in America. They do us no benefit.
Okay, we don't have time to go into that debate. Is there anything about Biden? So I said that I like the merit-based immigration from Trump. Is there anything about Biden that you can say you like?
No, just kidding. I would imagine he probably has similar views to mine on the healthcare, right?
Yeah. All right, so there, we can end on a good note. Maybe under Yang 2024, we will have some more merit-based immigration and universal health care, or at least a public option for people, citizens who can't afford more premium health care. Wouldn't that be a great thing?
Yeah.
All right. I worn you down, brother. With that, we're going to say goodbye, nerds.
Yeah, my friends were asking me what the heck I was doing today. I was like, oh, I got this conference call with my brother. It's like, this is my work for the day.
All
now
right,
I can relax.
Get a rest, have a beer, enjoy yourself, and we'll see everybody next time. And if you guys enjoyed this conversation, please like and share it so that more people can discover the lovely MAGA versus Biden brother series.
Hey, goodbye, nerds. Hey, thanks a lot, goodbye, nerds, for listening to us and staying for this long. Thank you so much, nerds.
Keep it real. Bye.
Bye-bye.